questions.
Susan, thank you so much. That was so wonderful. I'm going to just read some of the questions because they came in on the chat.
Okay.
And we can't have everyone on here because it's a webinar. So the first question is, who do we contact? Let's say we have a neighbor who's doing this. We don't want to be confrontational, but we just want to find out like really what can be done. Who would be contacted?
Yeah, I know. I did it the wrong way initially. I went over and banged on their door, and yelled at them. Don't do that. The thing that I find works is this, because it's difficult. We all live very close to each other, and people are very sensitive about, nobody wants to be told what to do, etc. Sometimes it helps to invite your neighbor over so that they can look back at their house. And you want to do this if you've got in hand something that would explain the good reasons for doing it. So, but they didn't install their light that you're finding obtrusive. The electrician did, who doesn't live here. He didn't turn the light on and then come back and look at it at night to make adjustments. They just, just stick it up and they aim it straight out. This has been the way that it's occurred for a long time. But I find that if you ask your neighbor to look back at their own house, they'd be more inclined to do something about it. But light trespass can cause people to get very angry.
Yeah.
Does that help? I would also check with your code enforcement to find out if there is a law, because our code enforcement for the town that I'm in, that code enforcement officer said the easiest code for him to enforce was the light law.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and also it's not like loud music and everything, because once you change a light, it's done. It doesn't reoccur.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're trying, we're working on a flyer. It would be interesting to see your flyer as well, so that maybe it would be a non-confrontational way of putting it in someone's mailbox, just so just so they can see it. And like you said, I think a lot of it is just that people don't know, I don't think it's like something that people, they do it, they think it's for safety. So one of the things that we were suggesting is that they do use motion detector lights. Do you think that that is something that should be used?
Yeah, a motion detector is great, but it's important for it to be connected to a light switch, because at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 11 o'clock when you're coming home, you want the motion sensor to come on so you can find the door. Yeah. But then you want to shut it off because you don't want the deer activating it all night long. It just wastes money. So a motion sensor with a light switch.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah. Another question that we had is, are licensed electricians, are they bound to the installation? Do they have to be code compliant? Do you find that electricians are even paying attention to that?
Well, many are, and some are not. Many laws are written so that the installer is responsible for meeting the code. So if they put in a light and then it's found to be in violation, the homeowner doesn't have to pay for that. It's the installer has to come back and take care of it.
Okay.
That takes the incentive out of, paying somebody twice to do something.
What do you think a normal penalty would be? Do you think it's
a
penalty? Do you think it would be prohibitive, really? Or what do you think? I mean, do you find
a penalty, did you say?
Yeah.
No, it could be minor, because, people are going to change it. They don't want to be hassled. Yeah. People never go to jail for this. Although there is a town on this on Long Island where, you know, those utility pole fixtures that I showed you?
Yes.
They have a law that says that anybody who installs one of those on a utility pole will go to jail. And you know that little town has no light fixtures attached to utility poles.
Oh.
But you know, it was LIPA's way of recouping money. You know, they can sell the electricity. The municipalities and the commercial businesses pay for those, and they're on dusk to dawn.
Yeah.
And they stick them into their. There's a lot of businesses that have them, and they stick the price of those into their electric bill, and they don't even know it. And that light could burn out, and they don't even know that they're continuing to pay for it. It's a kind of a wicked system, but we did what we could, and right now they do not install the ones that are unshielded. They only install the shielded ones.
Okay. So I guess someone had the question of, why are all of these lights that are non-compliant, like why are they still being sold?
Yeah, I know.
mean,
well, I'll tell you something. There's some good news. I believe the Home Depot that's in Riverhead actually has a little display, and they do carry better landscape fixtures and house fixtures. They carry them, but they also carry the other stuff. And I don't think I've discussed putting it in the law that they can't sell these, you know, what they call wall packs and, you know, all that other stuff. But, you know, legislators just don't want to go there. So it has to be up to the homeowner to, you know, make the selections.
No, but that's good to know that they have at least they have a display.
Yes, they do have a display, and they do have the fixtures, and sometimes they refer to them as dark sky fixtures. Most of the time they are, but it's not a perfect name, you know, for some fixtures. But I would go to that website with the International Dark Sky Association. But the easiest way to deal with this is through your town planner. I know in Southold, Heather Lanza reviews lighting plans, and she does a great job. Because if you catch it before it's put in, then you don't have to fix it. And for commercial sites, they can conform, they don't care, you know, it's all the same to them. There are some gas station chains that have a certain lighting design that they want to stick with, and you just tell them, no, you have to, you know, do the better lighting. Otherwise you can't put your lights, you can't, you know, we can't get your permit.
Yeah.
And yeah, all these light levels, all these recommendations have been decided on by lighting professionals. So they know how many foot candles to see well. You don't need to have 50-foot candles if, you know, 5 is what's recommended. And brighter doesn't make it better. You know, brighter just wastes money, and it can turn people off.
Yeah, yeah. We also had a question about cars with the new, it says, can we change the policy of the new car lights that are blinding?
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. I recently read an article in a scientific magazine that my mechanic gave me, and they are coming out with better headlights for cars. Now, my organization doesn't address car headlights. That's a federal program. But they actually are coming out with headlights so that when you're driving in your car and a car is coming towards you, your car will blank out those headlights. I know that sounds weird, but another thing too is eventually, maybe not in, you know, my lifetime, we're going to have self-driving cars. And on the freeways, you're not going to need roadway lighting. The Long Island Expressway won't need lights, you know, when cars are driven, you know, through their computers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, and also cars have headlights. So unless there's pedestrians or parked cars by the side of the roads, you don't need streetlights on a very small rural road where nobody's walking and there's very few cars and there's no impediments that would require lighting. The reason that there's all these light fixtures, these street lights, is because when the power companies were extending electricity, they brought the street lights with them, and then they make the municipalities pay for them forever. And they're really not meeting usefulness. So we have a tremendous number of street lights that are just, but the fortunate thing with LEDs, which they're converting a lot of these lights with LEDs, is LEDs can be dimmed for one thing, and they can also be instant on, instant off. And in Europe, the highways have the LEDs and they're off unless a car is coming.
Yeah.
So they're saving a tremendous amount of money doing that.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So we have, let's see, we have another question. It says, you mentioned that Southold Town could improve its regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any recommendations?
I think that I do, because they don't have anything in there about the LEDs. And again, LEDs are blue. And you have to, they could be as much as 6,000 Kelvin, which is that bluish, those horrible blue headlights are like 6,000 Kelvin. So we need to have regulations that address the LEDs. I think it's also useful, also very useful, to address pre-existing non-conforming to some extent, especially to reduce the glare and the light trespass. So Heather Lanza, your town planner, any town planner is the one who initiates it with their town attorney through the board. But the board needs to know that there's enough people who care about fixing and preventing light pollution.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think we have one more. How do we change the old school training we hear from security firms about dusk to dawn lighting for security?
Well, I believe on my website, the Dark Sky Society, there's a handout, Lighting for Safety and Security, I think it's called. And it does talk about the fact that you save a lot of money, and lighting by itself does not provide security. It provides a sense of security. So I think the handouts are what's important. Now, another thing to bring up before we close is within townships, schools, firehouses, some state buildings don't have to conform to the lighting regulations the zoning codes that a town produces. But there's no reason why they shouldn't, because if it's a community desire and you can explain to these schools the value of, shutting off their lights because they'll save money. And we're paying for those schools, they're responsible to us, even though they feel that they're exempt from local zoning. So, there's a lot of it, education, we're really very fortunate with this light pollution issue. It pays for itself to fix it. It's unlike water pollution and air pollution, where you've got, lobbyists for corporations that make money off of polluting. You don't make money off of polluting the night sky. So, this is an issue where we could actually really just get rid of light pollution. And everybody could benefit from it. And it's a nice, easy environmental issue to be involved in. Yeah. Unless Kieran has a different opinion.
No, I think
all the same opinions.
Well, Susan, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming to Zoom and doing this presentation for us. It was really informative. And, we hope, you know, to do more things in the future with you. It'd be wonderful.
I'll be happy to help you anyway. You know, you can give people my email. I'm happy to try to answer questions. And I do want to work with the town and help produce, you know, whatever tweaks you need for your lighting law to bring things into conformance, because, you know, you really have a beautiful, bucolic, you know, rural town. You know, it's not like Easton.
Yeah.
You know, we've kind of blown it down here, but there's a lot to preserve up there, and it's really worthwhile to address it. And I know your supervisor cares about this, but he does need to know that, you know, he's going to have people who will work with him, you know, and also people who will support initiatives that they take.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. So for everyone out there, we are going to have a movie about plastics, about replacing plastics in our lives, or I should say it's more like a commercial, a mini movie. And we're also going to have a panel discussion on Kiss the Earth. And we're also having a raffle. It's called a Giving Thanks raffle that will be held next Friday, November 27th. So we're going to do that live on Zoom as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Susan.